Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, Kent.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host Mary Jones.
And Dennis.
Dennis what?
Ling?
Sure. And we are in Dennis vs. the Movies month.
Yeah.
Which means I show you movies that meant something to me, sometimes as a small child, and in this case, sometimes maybe as an adult. Not an adult, actually a teenager, like the 90s.
Oh, so you saw this when you were a youngin'?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I said adult without really thinking about it, and I forgot. Oh, there's like a middle stage that we could talk about, and this is a movie from the middle stage. All right. In 1977, there were 5 movies up for Best Picture. Do you know what they were?
Star Wars?
No, that's the next year.
Oh.
That's technically 1978. So if it was up in 77, that means it was released in 76.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's 75 going into like 76.
Oh, that's not the top one that was there?
No, it's not. Okay, so I do have a Wikipedia page open. Shut up.
Is it Talia Shire?
I am going to stab you. You don't know anything.
No, I don't know.
All right.
I was 6.
And you
5 or
weren't
6.
watching? Look, when I was that age, I would sneak the little portable TV out of the kitchen and up to my bedroom and watch stuff with my parents not knowing.
I was more worried about Captain Tennille and Sha-Na-Na.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I was very plugged into, like, okay, so...
I was plugged out.
Genuinely, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and 6, 7, 8, I would watch the Oscars.
No.
I read movie reviews as soon as I could read.
No, I watched Creature Double Feature and maybe like Kung Fu movies or something.
Both admirable.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should have done that. I'm glad you did that.
And probably Three Stooges.
Sure, why not? Not really my thing, but I'm glad you did it.
Yeah. Quality.
Yeah. Anyway.
And of course Popeye, and Scooby-Doo and
Well, yeah.
Marine Boy.
I don't know Marine Boy, but the rest, yes, I completely agree and watched myself.
Yeah.
In 1977, to go back to my initial premise, there were 5 movies up for Best Picture. You've seen probably several of them,
Okay.
right? Rocky.
Yeah.
We've seen Rocky.
Mhm.
All the President's Men. Have you seen All the President's Men?
I have.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Right? Bound for Glory. Do you know Bound for Glory?
No.
Oh, so that's like kind of a biopic by Hal Ashby about Woody Guthrie, based loosely on his autobiography. Taxi Driver, the great Martin Scorsese film that I love, which is sort of a weird thing to say because it is a very unnerving film.
Yeah.
And then finally, Network. That is, kind of another nervy movie. Let's just say in 1977, the United States was a bit nervy.
A little bit.
Falling apart.
Yeah.
It's all
Glad that hasn't happened again.
Well, it's all very post-Watergate.
Yeah.
It's all very, what are we doing here, guys? Including a film about Watergate. I mean, it is kind of amazing that All the President's Men comes out in 1976. Nixon resigns in 75? My point being, that's a really fast turnaround. So America doesn't feel great about itself. And, you look at those movies, all right?
Yeah.
All the President's Men, it's about Watergate. Taxi Driver, it's about alienation in the people coming home from Vietnam, with Vietnam vets and kind of how they're they're not coming back right. Bound for Glory is, reflecting on the Great Depression, right? And what else is there? Network. Network is about media consolidation and the changes in media and how media shapes narratives, right? Okay, so you'll find out. And then Rocky. Look, I love Rocky.
Yeah.
I genuinely love Rocky. We have seen it in an actual theater. I've cried watching it.
It's pretty fun to see it in a theater around here.
Yeah, because we live around Philadelphia.
Yeah. Anytime
it shows in the Philadelphia area, I mean, it is just, this is, you don't get more,
Go Rock.
Absolutely. I genuinely do love the Rocky movies, and I love the Creed movies.
Yeah.
I love Rocky. Is that better than Taxi Driver? It's the opposite of Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
Is it better than Network? We'll talk about that. Is it better than All the President's Men? I don't know, honestly. I think All the President's Men kind of gets forgotten nowadays because it's not flashy. But we live in a world where journalism is absolutely debased. Just, there is no money behind it. There is no drive for it anymore. And, the Washington Post has been completely gutted by Jeff Bezos. And CBS has been gutted by the Ellisons. So we could have gone with All the President's Men, except that you've seen it. I thought, let's go and watch Network. Now, on the one hand, is this outside of our normal boundaries?
Yep.
Okay, yes. Our boundaries usually run 1977 to 1993, 1994.
Breaking the law, the law.
Well, but here's the thing. Network is prescient. Well, it is and it isn't, because it's commenting on things that were already in motion at the time. But I think Network is probably going to be very interesting to watch now, right? Because all the things that it's saying, this is bad, this is going to happen, this is really bad, guess what? This is bad, this is already happening, this is really bad. I'm already giving you sort of, hey, here's what this movie is about.
I've seen this movie in Mad Magazine form, so I know.
All right. So look, we're going to do Network.
I think it was called Nutwork.
Oh, God. What people may not know about me is I actually went to grad school for journalism for a time. I took many classes and I ended up dropping out because I'm me. And I dropped out of grad school twice. So one of the times was for journalism. Journalism is something I take very seriously, even though I am not engaged in it. And frankly, a lot of people are no longer engaged in it. And that's a huge problem. I have a lot of friends who are journalists and they are despairing of what the world is right now. And I am right there with them. I am not a journalist. I am a podcaster who has a day job, which is just like dumb office stuff. But I wanted to be a journalist. Now, having said all of my stupid stuff, what was this Mad Magazine parody? What do you know about this movie?
I know he gets shot at the end.
Great! Oh, good! Oh, I'm so glad!
Yeah, I know, I want you to get out of your chairs and yell, man, I'm mad as hell, all that.
Yeah, everybody knows that line.
I know, I've seen the entire scene with Ned Beatty. You've meddled with the forces, whatever.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of it. I read a book called News from Nowhere.
Go on.
That was written in 1973, and the writers of this book, it's a really scholarly, dry book about what drives the news, like local and national and news. And it kind of boiled down to it's all about advertising. It's just about advertising. And this was 73. They knew this then, and this is long before CNN and all that stuff. But it was all about how most reporters are kind of left-leaning, but the owners of all these places are all right-leaning, and and it's kind of skewed to look for just drama and action, and if if there's a protest going on, like they want the camera crews are trained to find violent stuff. And
Dennis, do we even have to watch this movie now?
but this was like a very scholarly examination of this, after the 68 convention and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was, just examining, how this all works, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a little depressing. I picked it up. I was taking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why did you read this book? Because you're not a journalist. You're not into.
I'm not a
you know.
journalist. I was taking a bus from Seattle to Philadelphia, and I was in Missoula, Montana, visiting a friend, and I went into a bookstore. I was looking for a book on chess. And I found two books. One is called The Miracle of Language by Charlton Laird. I love this book so much. It's all about language. And then there's this other book, and it's this like white cover, and there's like a TV painted white, and there's like clouds on the TV. It's called News from Nowhere. I don't know why I picked this book up, but I read it, and it was like, oh, wow. So, it was kind of prophetic, and, just kind of spells out, news. It's,
Roughly what year were you reading this book?
1996.
1996. Okay.
Late 1996.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because, by then I was, I would have seen Network.
Yeah.
And it would have been about 20 years old by then.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm really glad that you read a book like that. So it's not like you're going into this cold.
No.
Between this and a Mad Magazine parody.
Like, basically, cynicism was already building up early 70s.
Well, yeah.
And just built and built and built,
I
pretty
mean,
much throughout the 60s and then on to the 70s. This was something that people just felt.
One reason I want to cover this movie, though, is it's interesting because when you get to the 80s, I don't think you have the same cynicism that's built in.
Yeah.
I think the most cynical mainstream movie, I'll put it this way, the most cynical mainstream movie about, say, journalism and the news in the 1980s is broadcast news, and that's not really even about journalism. That's about personalities, and like it's not even like it's not Network. Let me put it this way: it's not Network. Broadcast news is a great movie. That's a great movie,
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, it's about journalism. It's not really about journalism.
Yeah.
And not in the way that Network is about journalism and advertising and money.
The thing is, like, 70s movies are all about throwing bombs and just destroying like all the illusions that we have or something. And 80s movies is about commenting on it. It's like, things suck. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's all very neutered.
And
because Reagan won.
If you're lucky, you'll make money. you know?
And now we are in the 20s.
Like the only I feel like one of the only movies that really kind of harkens back to that 70s vibe is like Brazil.
Yes. Brazil actually is the closest thing to a 70s movie that the 80s ever produced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels like a real bomb throwing, like, oh, I'm going to blow the lid off of the whole thing.
Yeah. And
like
that,
a little naive, but
it's both naive and cynical in an interesting way. I love Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame we can't cover it for the show, but yeah, there is kind of a through line from Network to Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the 80s, especially in the United States and in Hollywood, it's rare that you get people being very clear-eyed about the situation. We covered Walker a few weeks ago, and
Texas Ranger?
No, the Alex Cox film. And
you know what? I completely forgot.
Holy cow! Really?
I really did.
Look, it's been a rough couple of months for us here, guys. You guys have no idea. Our regular lives, our like daily lives are really weird.
Two trees just fell.
Yeah, we had a couple trees fall at our house. And,
trees are big.
Yeah.
Really big.
And that's like the smallest of problems we have right now.
But they're still big.
All right. Look, we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go and watch Network? Look, we could do our questions The questions don't
I don't
really-
think there's a dog. I don't think there's a love triangle. I know people die. I don't think there's a cool car.
No, it's 1976. Is
Yeah.
there a cool car?
There's
I
no
don't
cool
think so.
car.
Is there an angry dad? Yeah, his name
Yeah.
is Ned Beatty.
I feel like there's a bunch of angry. I think there's nothing but angry dads. In this. Everyone's a dad, and everyone is angry.
Yes.
Even Faye Dunaway.
The power of capitalist realism derives in part from the way that capitalism subsumes and consumes all previous history. One effect of its system of equivalence, which can assign all cultural objects, whether they are religious, iconography, pornography, or das Kapital, a monetary value. Walk around the British Museum, where you see objects torn from their life worlds and assembled as if on the deck of some Predator spacecraft, and you have a powerful image of this process at work. The conversion of practices and rituals into mere aesthetic objects, the belief of previous cultures, are objectively ironized, transformed into artifacts. Capitalist realism is, therefore, not a particular type of realism. It is more like realism in itself. Mark Fisher, Capitalist Realism, Is There No Alternative? Are you familiar with Mark Fisher,
No.
the philosopher?
Oh.
That's okay. To put it more succinctly, in the video game Disco Elysium, capital has the ability to subsume all critiques into itself. Even those who critique capital end up reinforcing it instead.
You know what I was thinking?
What?
I was thinking of the Bill Hicks joke. Oh, you know what Bill's doing? He's going for that anti-marketing dollar. That's a good market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which is what this movie is doing.
yeah. It's interesting because it kind of wants to have its cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of capitalism.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a pessimist. And in the end, I see capitalism not as an economic system, but as intrinsic to human nature as original sin. And that is the problem that we all live with, and I don't entirely believe we can get rid of.
Like, I feel like it's sort of the story of Bob Dylan.
Go on.
Well,
You're right. Go on.
Yeah, in that they're looking for a revolutionary voice that can sell, records and whatever, but not too revolutionary. Come on. and Bob's like, yeah, I can work with that.
Look, do I have all his records? Yeah. Sure. I am as much a tool as anyone.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. Look, that's
We're white suburban, we're tools.
yeah. The thing is, we are fish in water, right? I don't know what it would be like to live in a system which does not run on domination, whether we call that capitalism or nationalism or fascism or Catholicism or feudalism or the Roman Empire or, you call it whatever you want. I've never lived in an egalitarian society, and I am skeptical that I ever will. And I don't laugh at anyone who struggles against it or strives to create a better world. But I'll be honest, I don't think it's gonna happen, guys.
So we started this off by talking about whether this movie deserved an Oscar.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, at the time I cared more about, Creature Double Feature. So let's look at this as a movie.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess the lead actor is William Holden. And I was thinking he's kind of playing Bogey's role in Sabrina.
Yeah.
Like the older guy that's trying to still latch on to his youth as a woman lovable person or something.
A woman lovable person. Now, I know what you're saying. Yes. I like that observation that he has moved on from William Holden, the ridiculous playboy younger brother, into the more serious.
Holden has such a fascinating career. I mean, like Sunset Boulevard is one of the all-time most amazing films, and I love his character in it, like this bored
screenwriter, washed up. Yeah,
who gets eaten up by the big powers
yet
again.
Yeah. His whole career is just like a series of movies of him being eaten up by bigger powers.
Yeah.
I mean, think about The Bridge on the River Kwai.
Mm-hmm. But also he has this kind of attractive white male, like
all-American
card that gets him into places, like that, and he, like he still sees himself as the hero in all these things, and yet he's kind of an idiot.
Well, I love the idea that he is always playing a character who thinks he's the hero of the story, and he is the protagonist, but he's never a hero. Right?
I feel like there's a lot of 70s white male guys like this who are like, yeah, I'm getting eaten up by the system, but I'm aware of it, so I'm pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I think you may be right, actually. Yeah, but even that idea of, it's okay, I'm aware, right? Yeah. That's the same thing I'm talking about of capitalism subsumes all of its critiques. Yeah. It's that whole like, okay, I kind of suck, but I know I suck, so it's kind of all right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm still acceptable because I'm acknowledging the problems inherent in the system. Mm-hmm. Like literally, it's literally my whole shtick, right? Like as long as I kind of acknowledge, hey, by the way, this all sucks, right? Then it's okay, right? You guys still accept me. I mean, that's kind of what this film is doing. Yeah. It's sort of saying, this all kind of sucks, right, guys? Like, this is all a very bad system, and this is, like, hollowing out our sense of humanity. When you get towards the end, and Howard Beale, who, yes, he's crazy, he's not wrong, right? Yeah. He is insane, but he's not wrong about everything. And when you get towards the end, and he's talking about how human beings are hollowed out and becoming like humanoids, and like partially that's just basically the older generation complaining about boomers. Right, like that's obviously part of it, and they're because they're mad that like the kids these days they just don't understand, they don't have any values, and they grew up on television and Bugs Bunny, and they don't believe in anything.
Yeah,
and
these boomer kids, man.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I mean it's just, like it's funny because the film is complaining about that whole like the upcoming generation embodied by Faye Dunaway, and I mean, people have been bitching like that since Cicero, since earlier even. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have books on the shelves right behind you that I can pull quotes saying the same thing. So there is nothing new under the sun, etc. Yeah, the Bible. So you have that sort of, how do you critique a thing that is critiquing itself, and in doing so is trying to get away with murder. Literally murder. I don't know. This is the problem, right? Does it work as a film? Yeah, man. Yeah. I think it's a great movie. Mm-hmm. like it is. It's interesting how this movie has some fascinating mood swings though, because half of it is a rather vicious satire on what television is, but then you have those scenes with Holden playing somebody who's supposed to be an actual human being. Mm-hmm. And so you have scenes between him and Dunaway, and then him and the character's actual wife. They're going for real human emotion or something like that. I do think it works in the film, but at the same time there is something jarring because it's almost like, by the way, we have to keep reminding you of people's humanity, and I almost don't trust that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, because it's almost, again, it's sort of like, it's in trying to remind us some of these characters have an interiority and a humanity that this film is struggling against. I almost wonder when we, I don't know, maybe this is incredibly cynical of me, but is there something in fact cynical about a film that tries to inject humanity into a vicious satire? Does that make sense? By trying to temper the bile and make you try to make you believe in characters as characters and have sympathy for them, are you in fact maybe softening the blows too much? Maybe we humanize these people too much.
Like, if you're trying to make a perfect film out of this, I don't know if it would work.
Well, there's no such thing as a perfect film.
Well, there's good films.
Oh, okay, but this is a good film.
Yeah.
Like, what do you consider a perfect film?
Well, let's say Taxi Driver.
I don't know. The Taxi Driver's perfect.
No, let's say it's perfect.
Okay.
No, but what I'm saying is
Goodfellas, however, is perfect.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. Goodfellas is perfect in a way that Taxi Driver maybe isn't.
I feel like as a satirical film, I don't know if there is a perfect satirical film, and I feel like that if you made it any more specific than this one, like it would lose something.
Well, see, the thing is, the point of satire is to viciously critique society, but in the end, all satire fails to some extent, right? Because satire has never actually changed anything. Satire is a release valve, and it doesn't actually change the system in which it exists. I mean, that's again, this is the problem, right? You can't. I don't really think there's such a thing as revolutionary art. That's not a real thing. I don't care. Even, you can show me all the Eisenstein you want. And it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think about Battleship Potemkin probably more than most people. In that I think about it like every other week. Like, man, that's an incredible film. How'd they pull that off? In that they created a film with no actual single protagonist. Like when you get into like the structure of the film. But no film has ever actually overthrown a government. Right? I don't care if you made a movie tomorrow and released it that had Donald Trump on screen using CGI raping a 13-year-old girl on screen. That's not going to change anything. Do you know why I know that? Because they made that movie. It starred, the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan, and nobody saw it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what movie you make. It doesn't matter what art you make because it doesn't actually change anything. It's just a release valve to keep you from shooting somebody. All art is just a release valve. All capitalism just subsumes its critiques into itself, and it keeps you from overturning an actual system.
So are you mad at this movie because of that?
No, I'm frustrated by everything. I'm frustrated by the world, man.
Yeah.
Like everyone, I feel a day late and a dollar short. And like, I've got it easy compared to a lot of people, although, I'm waiting for our company to go belly up. I worry about that every day. I think about like what's going to happen when we lose our jobs for many different reasons that could happen, whether you're talking about like AI or just changes to the industry that we work in and et cetera. We are victims of a system that is greater than ourselves. Well, much like Howard Beale.
Yeah. But I got to say, Diane, her character, Faye Dunaway's character, would be very into AI.
She would love it so much. Oh, my God.
She's been waiting for something like that. I mean, she would love all streaming services.
Yeah. No, she is. Diane is a perfect character to me. I mean, she would love everything that is happening right now. She would completely understand how to utilize it. Unlike, I don't know, Barry Weiss. Do you know who Barry Weiss is? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's funny watching this film and thinking about what CBS is going through right now. So they're shutting down, literally today, it was announced that they're getting rid of CBS News Radio. This is the network that brought us Edward R. Murrow, right?
He keeps getting mentioned in this because he's like a kind of patron saint.
He is the patron saint of journalism.
Yeah.
And to be fair, have you ever listened to his broadcasts from England during the Blitz. They're amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever watched any of his, like, him interviewing McCarthy and stuff like that, like he was a great journalist. There's a reason why he is the gold standard, right? Yeah, he is brought up in this, and it's funny how, when they open the film and you see the other kind of news anchors in these other TV boxes, and so you've got Cronkite there, and Cronkite, he was the obvious successor to Murrow, and to be fair, like Cronkite actually was very important, right?
Yeah.
When he spoke out against the Vietnam War and said this is losing, and this was on network television, like that was shockwaves.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody had done that before in the United States, where they were on network television and said, this war sucks and we're going to lose. This is pointless. This is a waste of lives and everything. It's interesting watching that and thinking about how there's literally nobody on television like that now. Television doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting relic. Like, yeah, the most watched news program in America is David Muir on ABC. I have a feeling everybody watching that is 75 years old because young people don't watch network television. They watch streaming, and I don't know how much news people watch, honestly. All of the cable networks, there's a lot of Sturm und Drang about them, and the fact that David Ellison is now going to own CNN, and what a catastrophe that's going to be. But frankly, people under 40 don't have cable. They're not watching CNN. They're certainly not watching ABC. Nobody cares about any of these people anymore. The Network is a movie about a very different era, which is interesting to me. And so, you have all these people with all this money and ideas invested in a system that is dying because young people, it's not that they don't care what's happening, but that's not where they get their news. They get their news from random weirdos on TikTok. That's not great. That's not a great replacement. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Because the phrase great replacement, yikes. That's not a good substitute for actual journalism, is people on TikTok just sort of saying things into their phone. And it's one thing when, say, you have people filming an ice raid. Okay, that's fine. But you need to have an actual journalist then build context around, okay, and this happened here, and this is the consequences of that, etc. You have people who go onto TikTok and they'll take some video of the local port and say, I don't think there's enough boats here. Has all the shipping shut down from China? No, it actually has not all shut down from China. Like this was something from the tariffs when that's all started off, right? So you have people who are getting their news from nothing. It's terrifying, right? Like there is no news environment anymore. People don't. I don't know where young people get. When I say young, like I'm 40. I'm about to turn 47. So, like, if you're 30, where are you getting your news from? YouTube? I mean, that's okay for commentary if that's what you want. That's not news. People don't know what news is. To be fair, a lot of network news isn't actually news. It is commentary, and it is prepackaged stories put out by networks, etc. Look, is this a good movie? I think it is. But it's really weird to watch and think about how different the media landscape is now, and frankly, how different the world and the economic landscape is. This is a movie that makes a lot of sense up until the end of the century, up until, are you familiar with Francis Fukuyama's The End of History and the Last Man?
Yeah.
All right. That book makes a lot of sense in context of this movie and vice versa. But I keep thinking about, as I'm watching this, we get to that end with that speech, right, with Jensen and everything, and I think that world might be dead, and a new world is struggling to be born, and it's a really scary world, actually. Sorry, I feel like this entire episode is basically me just sort of gutting myself and talking about how terrified I am, and not enough about your reaction to this movie that I have watched for the first time when I was a teenager and have watched a few times since, and I love it, and yeah, so let's talk about you.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Instead of me doing a monologue of like my id or whatever is going on here.
Well, I kind of knew that would come out from this.
Does it give you any insight into me?
See, I don't think I knew that you'd seen it when you were that young.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it definitely feels like, to me, I see it as like the spirit of the 70s. America was, from like Bonnie and Clyde on, it was like spending so much time trying to capture something in like the French New Wave and just the Italian films and all, like
The Italian
Blowout and
Yeah.
Antonioni and all that. Like, it was trying to capture that kind of independent feeling to break, like, to kind of totally break away from the old studio system. And it feels like this was like kind of like at its peak or something. So like, you know, like from like the French Connection onto this, like this is all the same vibe, and it would kind of like subside by the end of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll talk about movies in the 80s that have echoes of the 70s, and like I think After Hours a little bit. But,
Sure, yeah.
And I was saying Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Brazil definitely just feels like a 70s movie. Like, it just seems like Terry Gilliam's kind of out of time for a while.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what happens in this film. Howard Beale is the nightly news anchor at the fourth-rated network. So there's a fictional fourth network because in the 70s there were only 3 networks.
Yeah.
NBC, ABC, CBS. And this is the fictional UBS.
Yeah.
And he is going to be fired because the ratings are terrible. He's older, he's an alcoholic, his wife died, you know, he's very depressed, and so and he's old, and you know, the network is like, we need something new. We're going to get rid of you. And so he and his buddy, played by William Holden, you know, they're commiserating about all of this, and Howard Beale decides when he goes back on the air that he's going to threaten to kill himself. And, you know, it's a cry for help, it's a cry for attention, etc. Yeah. And at first, nobody's even paying attention to him.
Like they joke about it the night before.
Yeah.
And William Holden's like, well, you'll get a 50 share.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's so much talk about ratings in this. There's a lot. One thing I really like about the script is how much it is just you're getting hit with this wall of jargon all of the time.
Yeah.
You really get a sort of sense of what it's like, how TV people, the suits, all talk to each other. You know, it's all about numbers and it's all about abbreviations and jargon and whatnot. And I rather like that. I think it gives the script a certain rhythm and a verisimilitude that I think is, you know, smart.
Yeah.
I think a less interesting movie would try to explain all these concepts to you, and we don't need them explained. You know, it's easy to get even if you don't work in the industry.
Yeah.
You know.
Just think clicks.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Howard threatens to kill himself on air, and of course, people freak out. But it also is going to, you know, drive up ratings.
Yeah, well, it takes like a day, and Diane is like head of programming.
Mm-hmm.
She's not doesn't have anything to do with the news, because of course the news has nothing to do with entertainment. The news is a source of information for the American public.
I love how they emphasize the fact that the news division is a money loser.
Yeah.
Like, that's very important to point out. And the thing is, that has always been like the reality of news.
Yeah.
Newspapers were always funded either by some wealthy weirdo or, you know, just a lot of advertising and subscriptions, but it wasn't really a money maker, and that was especially true when you started with like networks.
And this is all told by the company guy, Tom Hagen.
Yeah, the late great Robert Duvall is one of
Yeah.
the stars of this, and he is one of the corporate bigwigs in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic in this, of course. The whole thing is that the news division is a failing source of revenue, and this is going to be true for regardless of whatever network you're at. But now they see potential in exploiting Howard Beale, who is crazy, but putting him on air because people basically want to watch a freak show.
Yep.
Suddenly, the news can make money by being a freak show.
And so this Diane, like
Mm-hmm.
all of her ideas are like, we got to get crackpots on the news. We got to get a psychic. We got to get. And,
they bring in stuff like I forget what else is on there. Oh, they do a vox populi, voice of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the idea of it's not just like, okay, we're occasionally going to go and find out what people on the street think. It's like this has to be an important part of our show is viewer input. Like there's nothing more, I think, bankrupt than being like, we have to turn over part of our show to just letting, whatever rando has an opinion on. No, I'm serious. I mean, like this is basically just talk radio.
Yeah.
Right? Which, look, have I listened to a lot of talk radio? I mean, technically I've called into talk radio. I mean, it depends on how you judge the best show, right? But like, yeah, I mean, that is its own permutation of talk radio, right? I mean, I've listened to like 101.5 in New Jersey and like a lot of other terrible garbage.
Is Tom Sharpling the Howard Beale
Look,
podcast?
I would love to ask Tom what he thinks of network. Does he love it or does he absolutely hate it? Does he see it as like does he see himself as basically telling people, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? Or would he be absolutely insulted by the implication of that? Probably, yes. No, because, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody who is a host is in danger of becoming that, right? Because it's very easy to sit back and become that sort of populist, whip the people up. Yeah, man, I'm as angry as you are. Like, I mean, the film knows this. The film is playing with that. But I think a lot of talk radio or other type of populist entertainment, well, for one thing, it's often very cynical, right? I mean, you've seen A Face in the Crowd,
You know what? I don't think I have.
You watched it with me.
I don't think
The
I
one
did.
with Andy Griffith?
Yeah. I think you watched it on your own.
Dude.
Yeah.
It's really good. You ought to see
I
it.
believe it.
Yeah.
But I was doing something else.
What is more important than sitting and watching old movies with me? You're laughing. That's our show.
These aren't old movies. They were just in the 80s.
Oh, honey. Oh. So they bring a psychic on, but anyway, we're not even at that point yet.
Yeah.
Not really.
In fact, they bring him back and they put him on a show that they don't show.
Yeah. And that's fine.
They say it's not so I'm really curious like what
Well, so
I wonder if they filmed it for one thing and then they're like, it's
yeah, I mean it's entirely possible that whatever
Yeah.
they filmed didn't work. But so yeah, the idea is that, he basically just gets his half hour to rant and rave on television, and it starts off strong, but then it kind of starts to fall off again because, it's not that interesting. It's like, okay, I guess like he hasn't shot himself.
Yeah.
How many times can you watch that? So they're going to cancel him again. Beale, his life is falling apart, and the William Holden character is like, okay, look, you're just going to come and live with me and my wife for a while and whatnot. And we'll figure something out. And, meanwhile, the network isn't entirely sure what to do with him. They're going to get rid of him, whatever. And he has a revelation.
What's kind of cool is that his lines when he's having this revelation, like kind of talking to nobody, is the exact same lines he's saying to Ned Beatty later on, which is kind of fascinating. It's almost as if he's like seeing an echo of this future conversation with the head of money.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good observation, honey.
Yeah. It's like he has like some like he has this kind of vague awakening. He's like, I have to tell the truth. I don't know what the truth is. And then finally the truth kind of comes down on him later on. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. But so he has this whole revelation, runs off into the streets at night wearing a raincoat, and the next day when they're going to film, nobody's entirely sure is he going to show up, and then he shows up in pajamas, in the raincoat, and then we get the famous scene of him having like the meltdown on television. And it's worth pointing out that we're like an hour into the film
Yeah.
when this happens. Like a lot of movie goes by. setting up like just the world of network television and this failing show and what do we do with Howard, Diane and her attempts at reviving the network. She comes up with this idea of the Mao Zedong hour, which is basically, again, we're going to make a TV show built around a revolutionary group. And, kind of playing off of a lot of the different, leftist guerrilla groups in the 1970s. And they have like a woman as a stand-in for like Angela Davis there.
And they have like a liberation army that has their own heiress, not just Paddy Hearst.
They do have their own heiress, who is played by Walter Cronkite's daughter.
Oh, wow.
I know. Isn't that great?
That's great.
I love that.
By the way, if you don't know about Paddy Hearst, she is the daughter of William Randolph Hearst.
Yes.
That guy.
That guy. That's insane.
Yes.
Yes.
And she was captured by abducted by this this army.
Leftist guerrilla group, the Symbionese Liberation Army. I don't know where Symbiana was. Like, yeah. I'm not entirely sure. Like, there are a lot of these, groups and stuff of various, I don't know, seriousness. And she took part in a bank heist and stuff. And yeah,
I have a book on it.
Was she William Randolph Hearst's daughter or granddaughter?
Oh, maybe granddaughter.
I think granddaughter. Yeah. But the point is, it is kind of amazing that that's his offspring of some kind. Just the importance of Hearst and his relationship to film, and not just Citizen Kane, but when you get into and a lot of other stuff, and just journalism in general. Anyway, sorry, went off on a tangent there, but it's important,
Yeah.
So we're already an hour in, and so yes, again, it's that with Diane coming up with the Mao Zedong hour, it's that idea of capitalism just being able to take any sort of revolutionary movement and turn it into entertainment, and like that. Look at the show Andor. Mm-hmm. I love Andor.
Yeah,
Andor is fantastic, but watching that is not actually taking part in a rebellion. Right? Well,
it is driving up sales of Disney Plus.
Yeah, it sure is, man.
There's that.
Look, man. I think Tony Gilroy's ideas are good, and I love that show, and whatever. But at the same time, entertainment is just a release valve.
We're rebelling against HBO.
Yeah. At this point, you have to. How much longer is John Oliver going to be on HBO? I don't know.
Who knows?
Is he going to go out like Howard Beale? God, I hope not. I'm a fan. I like that show. I'm a longtime listener of The Bugle. I went back to like episode 12. Anyway, you get an hour into this movie, and you get that famous scene of him coming in, and he just starts talking to the audience about how, look, things are bad. The food is bad. The gas prices are up. We're basically in a depression. That's brought up several times, actually, in this. And I think that's interesting because, in 76, I guess you had the first oil shock.
Yeah.
But you haven't had the second one, right? The economy was really bad in the 70s.
Yeah.
Actually, the economy was really bad in the early 80s, from what I remember, too, because you had the second oil shock. The economy was really bad in the early 90s. I'm seeing a pattern here because I remember the economy was actually really bad around the year 2000.
Stick to the movie.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just saying the economy keeps getting bad again.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So but he goes on this whole long thing about how hard things are and how frustrated everybody is, and of course we get his famous line of I want you to go to the window and I want to open it. I want you to stick your head out and I want you to scream, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." And everybody goes and does that. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's cathartic.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Sure, that's cathartic. He doesn't then say what to do after that.
Well, that's for tomorrow's program.
Well, yeah. That's the thing. It's interesting how his whole thing is he stands there and he talks about how bad things are and how angry we all are. And he gives these long Jeremiads, right? And leaving aside the fact that, yes, the character is, insane. Mm-hmm. The things he's saying, to some extent, they're generic enough, I guess. but they're also just not wrong about how people feel about their conditions.
Right.
He doesn't, and some of his diagnoses aren't wrong. Some of them are wrong. We'll get to that in a minute. But he never then says what to do about it, except once. The one time he actually says, here's what you can do about it. That's where he gets in trouble.
Yep.
Right? Because it's okay to rant and rave and complain about how much things suck. But it's when you actually say, here's the concrete action you can do to change your situation. That's where the problem lies. It is very easy for you and me to sit here on a podcast and for me to sit here and complain about how much I don't like things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have to then go and say, and here's what we're going to do about it. Right?
Okay.
So he discovers they are being the company that he belongs, the network has been bought by another conglomerate, right?
Yep.
And who is this other conglomerate? Because it's not that unusual for networks to change hands. This has always happened. This is happening now. You know the whole thing with Skydance. Skydance was a small production company, but they were owned by David Ellison. David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison, who is one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah.
And so Larry Ellison gave his son enough money to then go and buy Paramount. Paramount, one of the oldest studios, was failing, right? So now it's Skydance Paramount. Warner Brothers has been failing for years. Warner Brothers has been failing since the 1920s. Warner Brothers has always been a disaster. It has killed multiple companies. AOL Time Warner. And after that, who was after that? Discovery Plus. It's like on and on and on, right? In order for David Ellison to outbid Netflix.
Are we talking about the movie?
We are talking about the movie.
Okay.
All right. So here's the thing. In order for David Ellison to buy... I understand why you were asking me this question, but it's relevant to what happens in the film.
I'm just worried about your editing.
Look, in order for David Ellison, who owns Paramount, to buy Warner Brothers, he needed to get more money from his father.
Mm-hmm.
Where did his father get the money from?
From God.
No. Weirdly enough, from the Saudis.
No, they wouldn't do that.
No, I swear to God, it was from the Saudis. Yes, there is money from Saudi Arabia in the deal so that Ellison can buy Warner Brothers. That's what happens in this movie.
Yeah.
The Saudis are behind the purchase of the network.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the one hand, there's some kind of ugly anti-Arab stuff in this film. Why? Because it's 1976 and a whole bunch of other stuff that I won't get into.
And plus OPEC just, caused all these people to wait for hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, I'm not going to get into the politics of the Middle East, but, it all ends up boomeranging back onto us.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because we're the empire that goes around and screws around in the rest of the world. And because we have cars everywhere. He finds out that that's who's, actually financing the buying of the network. And because of it, because of anti-Arab sentiment, he thinks he can speak out against this. And he directs people to actually, write to the government to investigate this. That's how you know this is a different world from the one we live in. Because that actually causes problems for the company. I realize I'm kind of jumping ahead, but the thing is, a lot of the film is just satire of the business itself.
Yeah.
So because he actually came up with things are bad, here's the thing we can do about it. He is hauled before God.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, Robert Duvall says, okay, look, this is a problem. The guy who is above me, Mr. Jensen, played by Ned Beatty, he is not happy about this and wants to see Howard Beale because we got to get him to shut up or he's going to screw up the deal.
Yeah.
So this brings us to kind of the other famous moment of the film.
Yep.
Right? And this is the one other scene that you've seen. We have this wonderful scene of poor stupid Howard Beale being hauled in front of Ned Beatty. And Ned Beatty looks like a Gilded Age god.
Yeah.
You know, he's got like a 3-piece suit with the vest and everything, and a watch chain even, and a big handlebar mustache. He looks like he should be on money. And he takes Beale into the conference room, and
lowers the lights.
He lowers the lights. They're like, you are completely isolated in this womb, right? And you get that speech of, you know, you have meddled in the affairs of nature, and we cannot have this. Yeah. And so you have that wonderful speech that got him the Oscar, and essentially saying the idea of the nation state is dead. Why do you care if the Saudis are the ones paying for this? There's no such thing as Saudi Arabia. There's no such thing as the United States or Great Britain
or
democracy or Japan. There is no Christian or Jew or Arab. Like, none of that stuff is real. The only thing that's real is money. The only thing that's real is IBM or Union Carbide or Dow Chemical or frankly, if it was today, you would talk about, like, I don't know, Lockheed Martin and Oracle and
NVIDIA
and SpaceX or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you would not talk about, the names of the companies might change a little bit, but the idea is still there that, capitalism is a world force, and nation states are, an idea of the past. Nobody cares about that stuff anymore. What they care about is money, and you need to find your place in that system. And if you do anything to mess with the money, that's where we have a problem. You're basically trying to kill this deal. You're going to cost people a whole bunch of money. You are disrupting a system that, frankly, could bring peace to the world. You're going to have to understand that the world is not what you think it is. Is a great speech.
Yeah.
Howard Beale, as you said, has the same type of revelation as he had earlier, and he kind of accepts all of this from a pessimist point of view, right? So he kind of says, oh, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And basically, and then Jensen basically says, you're basically going to be my prophet and tell people about this is how the world actually works. This is the real cosmology, the global capitalism. That the idea of the nation state is dead. And Beale accepts this, but from the pessimistic point of view of, oh, wow, basically this is this whole other system, and there's really nothing we can really do about any of this, And so he kind of just delivers this bummer message.
Yeah.
And it's really bad for the studio, for the network.
But Jensen's happy.
Yeah, Jensen's happy because at least this isn't quashing the deal.
And he's got a lapdog on TV that he can just watch all day. Mm-hmm. They love that kind of thing.
They do. Here's my question to you. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's right?
Who?
Jensen.
I don't know. I mean, I try to avoid that circle of hell.
Here's the thing. I would have thought he was actually right until recently. I would have thought, yeah, he is right. It kind of, doesn't matter like what country you live in. I can buy, stuff from Chinese companies. China's supposed to be a communist country, whatever that means anymore. I can go and, we had American universities over in China, right? Like nothing really mattered. Like global capitalism's a real thing, right? You can eat McDonald's in Moscow, and you can eat McDonald's in, Botswana probably. I only said Botswana because I had a teacher who used to live there, and it's because I have only a vague notion of where it is. But my point being, it's McWorld, right? Mm-hmm. What Jensen's ideology is the ideology of from the 70s until like at least the end of the century, right? And beyond. This is neoliberal capitalism. I'm not sure if that's true anymore, mainly because of Donald Trump. And I don't know that nation states are real either, but there's something else that's like a real driving force in human history now, and it's bombing the hell out of a bunch of oil fields. capitalism would say, don't bomb the oil fields. We need the gas.
Right.
I'm not sure what that is. You know? And I don't want to go for the pat answer of like, well, it's like global fascism or something. No, I don't even think it's as easy to say like what that is. I don't know what the new world system is that we're going into.
I think there's a kind of insanity going on somewhere.
Well, yeah. There is.
Yeah.
There's definitely an insanity going on.
And I feel like there's some people that have learned how to ride that wave pretty long.
Yeah.
Which is a little sad.
I realize I didn't pick this movie to be some sort of weird cathartic thing for me to just rant and rave.
Is it cathartic?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I feel like relieved.
Is it cathartic, or are we just beating ourselves up?
I don't know, dude. I was raised Catholic. What's the difference?
I know.
So Howard is in trouble.
So we haven't talked about William Holden since the beginning of the movie.
I am sorry. You're right. Because the film really does more revolve around him.
Yeah. Do you think that works? Or do you think that it's like something that's kind of jammed in the film to ground it, and it still doesn't?
Here's the thing. I think it needs it.
It needs it.
Yeah.
But
No. I know what you're saying. There is an irony in that I'm spending a lot of time talking about the ideas of the film and about Howard Beale, and Howard Beale is not the star.
No.
He is not the protagonist. You know, Peter Finch is amazing in this. He's not the star. The star is William Holden, even more than Faye Dunaway. And Holden's the only guy who didn't get the Oscar either.
Yeah.
So there's an irony in that. I don't know. I think in order to get through a movie like this, I suppose you have to have your average person, you know, for whatever degree of average you want. I mean, you would not want to make the film around Robert Duvall's character. You wouldn't want to make the film entirely around Faye Dunaway, because the whole point of her character is to be alienating.
Right.
It would be really hard to make the movie through her eyes. And you can't make it just through Howard Beale, because he's crazy.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to see the world through his eyes. I think you have to have William Holden. I think you have to have the person who's rational enough and is basically there to be the voice of the director and screenwriter.
Like, I feel like his role is to be William Holden.
Yeah.
Like, he's to be the character he's been in all those films.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of lucky schmuck that is in over his head.
Does it bother you?
The movie kind of wows me in a way that I'm like, I don't know if this is a good movie.
Okay.
You know, like there's some movies that you're just kind of blown away by, and then you're like, is that a good movie? I don't know.
Things don't go well for Howard. Robert Duvall's like, okay, look, this guy is costing us money, even though the deal is still on to get bought. He's driving down ratings. We're gonna have to kill him. Yep. And so they do.
And they're like, well, let's see how that will work with the ratings, and let's check out with the lawyers, and
they decide, actually, this is going to be really good for our ratings. So they employ a couple of, I guess, one guy is a member maybe of the Liberation Army, the communist guerrillas. And the other, I don't know if he's supposed to be one of them or if he's just like a random weirdo. Yeah. Because he looks like one of the random weirdos who did a lot of assassinations in the 70s. Yeah. You know, he's got that look. Yeah, so Howard Beale goes on television, and before he can even get his rant out, is blown away.
I hope Sybil made it.
We had the relationship between Faye Dunaway and William Holden's character, and of course, like that falls apart, and like that was kind of the predictable thing. They even talk about how it's predictable, through the film, that like basically they're acting out a script, and it's the typical script of, you know, the middle-aged man who like has the fling with the young woman, and it all falls apart,
and then runs back to his wife while you know, she's left in her ivory cold tower.
Yeah. Do you think that works?
I guess it has to work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with like satires, it's like it's good, and then you're like, I don't know. It's not I'm not sure what it is that's keeping me from saying this is the best film ever.
Well, I don't think it has to be the best film ever.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it has to be the GOAT or it sucks. Oh, I love the scenes with the Liberation Army. Its communist leader immediately starting to talk about like points and
Yeah.
like they all immediately get into like the network talk.
I mean, that is very funny. Like, I don't know. Is it cynical about leftist movements? Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Maybe because all the leftist movements in America, like, you know, failed miserably.
You never saw Man Bites Dog, right?
No, what's that?
That's a movie about a serial killer who is followed by a camera crew who eventually start helping him.
I mean,
So it reminded me of this.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that, again, that's the whole thing of the media critiquing itself. Aren't we terrible people?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yes, I agree. And, you know, go ahead and make that satire of the industry. How come nobody ever actually, like, stops any of this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, that ultimately is the problem with art. Again, art is a release valve against change. Is that good? No. Does that mean we shouldn't have art? No. But you do have to every so often remind yourself watching a movie is not revolutionary.
Right. No, it is. Fans.
Well, you know, how many of us in the end are, you know, Ghetto Pat watching the Battle of Algiers and getting stoned on the couch? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You saw one battle after another. You saw it with me.
Ghetto Pat?
That's DiCaprio's character.
Oh, you know, I forgot.
Yeah.
I don't remember names.
But do you remember he was watching the Battle of Algiers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, again, you know, it's kind of the same thing.
So ultimately, are you saying that the title of our podcast is ultimately you're against movies?
I am against movies. I'm against all art. Destroy all art now. Total iconoclasm. There is a reason why graven images are forbidden in like the major Abrahamic faiths until you get to the Catholics, because the Catholics are basically just pagans. Guys, I'm kidding. Please stop. Stop writing letters.
No, write letters. Yeah. Engage.
Yeah, that's, you know, all humor is a release valve against. Okay, I'll shut up now. All right, that was Network, starring William Holden, Faye Dunaway, Peter Finch, Robert Duvall, Ned Beatty, Beatrice Straight.
Wait, who did she play?
She plays William Holden's wife.
Oh.
She got the best supporting actress.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And her scene is as short as Ned Beatty's.
I know.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, written by Paddy Chayefsky and directed by the great Sidney Lumet. You, of course, can follow us on social media, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. This is already a long episode. You know, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram. You know where we are. You're listening to us. Why am I saying all of this?
I feel like you're just extending Ned Beatty's speech.
He's not wrong up until maybe like a month ago. Yeah. So anyway, where am I going with this? All right. We also have a Patreon where you can help support the show, because what is more important than money? But also, so like you sign up patreon.com/MaryVSMovies, and then for $3 a month you help support us. But then you also get access to our whole other show, Hollywood Avalon, where we watch Arthurian movies. It's all kinds of stuff. It's Bugs Bunny cartoons. It's old episodes of MacGyver. But it's also movies like Knights of the Round Table or The Green Knight or Excalibur. Oh, Excalibur's a good one. Knight Riders, that's a great one. We're going to do Apocalypse Now very soon. I know, trust me, Apocalypse Now. that is definitely an Arthurian movie.
Sorry it's been so long.
It has been a very long time. We've been very stressed out with work. We almost lost our jobs. It's a long story.
And we're sick.
And I didn't even talk about the fact that like we're both getting we're both getting over really bad colds. It's amazing that I can actually talk, to be honest. So yeah. But yes, patreon.com/MaryVSMovies. Anyway, next episode, you know, I had teased it. I said we were going to do it instead. I'm going to extend Dennis versus the Movies by 1 week.
What are you doing?
I'm having us watch Back to the Beach.
You're not allowed to do that.
Why not?
That's against the rules.
The world has no rules. It only has dollars.
Oh, no.
So yes, no, I think next week we are actually going to watch Back to the Beach, and then we will be back to our regularly scheduled, confuse the heck out of me programming.
I have no idea what Back to the Beach is.
I know, and I'm not going to wait a year to show you.
Okay.
So
I've never heard you be this passionate about this movie before.
It might be terrible. I haven't seen it since I was young, but what the heck?
All right.
So until next time.
Hi, I'm Diane Christensen, a racist lackey of the imperial ruling circles.